Welcome to The Beat, Knox County Public Library's poetry podcast. Today we'll hear Zachary Schomburg read his poems More About Gravity, The Cow, and The Cliff Floats Low. He'll follow by reading a fragment from the book Tender Buttons by Gertrude Stein.
More About Gravity. I remember this one planet, how it had these two people kissing on the lip of a big volcano. I used to watch them every night in the fuzzy lens of my telescope. Each time they'd get too excited and tip in. "Come home," I said alone in my room to no one, and no one ever did. This poem is called The Cow. It's about a cow that I befriended on my trip to the farm. The cow. I befriended the cow on my trip to the farm. The two of us were inseparable. I knew how to make it moo. But that was so many years ago. Whose farm even was that? I don't really remember. There's whole swaths of my life of which I can't even recall the tiniest things. One thing I think I do remember is how wise the cow was. It said things like, "Never be afraid and never give up. Hold on to hope and learn from your mistakes. Don't be so in love all the time. It gets in the way. Stop loving. Stop wanting to be loved. Stop loving yourself so much. Stop letting love into your life. Stop eating so much dairy." This poem is called The Cliff Floats Low. Two nuns are on a cliff looking at a cloud over another cliff. It looks like a crown, but on what head, one said. It looks like a cliff, said the other. But that is a cliff, said the first nun. No, the cloud, said the other nun. The cloud looks like a cliff, asked the first. Yeah, said the other. And she was right. The cloud did look like a cliff floating low above the cliff. And in that, the cloud was a cliff. Because what is a cliff if not something that looks like a cliff? And this nun's cliff, a cliff set free finally from its valley after 1,000,000 years or more, like the splintered breath of a sick planet. The cliff, she thought, is going nowhere and everywhere at once. I want to be on it, she said, weeping now. It looked like it was being held on a string. She thought of the last time she was so properly held, when she felt as light as this cliff in the arms of her mother, and how her mother leaned down to kiss her bright red child ears and said, "You feel like nothing." This is a fragment from Gertrude Stein's Tender Buttons called Apple. I chose this fragment as a kind of conversation piece with the poem that I just read, The Cliff Floats Low. It's a way of kind of showing my own obsessions with words and what we can do with them when we allow those sounds that they make to override the meanings that they make. So when I say words like cliff over and over and over again until it starts to lose meaning, it's because I love reading poems like this from Gertrude Stein. Apple. Apple plum, carpet steak, seed clam, colored wine, calm scene, cold cream, best shake, potato and no gold work with pet. A green scene is called bake and change sweet is bready. A little piece, please. A little piece, please. cane again to the presupposed and ready eucalyptus tree, count out sherry and ripe plates and little corners of a kind of ham. This is use.
You just heard Zachary Schomburg read his poems More About Gravity and The Cow from his book Pulver Mar, and The Cliff Floats Low from his latest book Fjords Volume 2. He followed by reading Apple from the book Tender Buttons by Gertrude Stein. Schomburg was kind enough to record these poems for us at his home in Portland, Oregon. Zachary Schomburg is a poet, painter, and a publisher for a small independent poetry press called Octopus Books. He earned a BA from the College of the Ozarks and a PhD in creative writing from the University of Nebraska. He is the author of 6 books of poems, including, most recently, Fjords Volume 2, published by Black Ocean in 2021, and a novel, Mammother, published by Featherproof Books in 2017. Gertrude Stein was born in Allegheny, Pennsylvania in 1874. She attended Radcliffe College and Johns Hopkins Medical School. In 1903, she moved to Paris, where she eventually began writing poetry, fiction, and nonfiction. She became an influential figure in the worlds of art and literature, and her home became a gathering place for artists and writers like Henri Matisse, Ezra Pound, Pablo Picasso, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Max Jacob. She died in Paris in July of 1946. You can find books by Zachary Schomburg and Gertrude Stein in our online catalog. Also look for links in the show notes. Please join us next time for The Beat.
Thank you for listening to and sharing this podcast from Knox County Public Library in Knoxville, Tennessee. Music by Chad Crouch. Explore life-changing resources on our website, knoxcountylibrary.org. Find our podcasts under the Programs menu, including over 100 book and author talks. knoxcountylibrary.org, your essential connection for lifelong learning and information.